I sat there, gripping the steering wheel of my car, parked just a few blocks away from my house, staring blankly out the windshield. I could still hear Emma's and Jake's voices in my mind. The laughter, the innocent conversation that had been happening just moments ago, before everything shattered. It was numb. Not just from the shock, but from the realization that everything I thought I knew was a lie. The man I was supposed to marry, the man I thought would be by my side through thick and thin, had betrayed me in the worst way possible. And my own sister, the one person I trusted most in the world, had chosen to be part of this betrayal. How could they do this to me? The questions swirled in my mind, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't just sit here and wallow in the pain. Tomorrow I had to take action. I couldn't let this betrayal define me. I wasn't going to let them get away with this, not without facing the consequences.
Well,
I wasn't going to remain the passive victim, quietly taking the hurt while they carried on with their lies. Tomorrow was my day. Tomorrow I was going to expose them to the world. The next day, I woke up with a heavy heart. But my resolve was stronger than ever. The family gathering was just a few hours away. My mom had organized the dinner, a big event to celebrate the pregnancy, to celebrate our future. At least that was the plan. But it was no longer about that. It was no longer about celebration. Tomorrow was about justice. I spent the morning preparing everything, gathering the proof, going over the texts, screenshots, and voicemails I had carefully collected. The evidence was clear, undeniable. There was no way they could talk their way out of it. I was ready. But part of me still wondered how it would all go down. How would the family react when they found out the truth? How would my mom handle it? I wasn't just about to expose Jake and Emma. I was about to expose everything. The lies, the manipulation, the two-faced behavior that had been hiding in plain sight. As I looked at myself in the mirror, I realized something. I wasn't afraid anymore. I had to do this for myself. I had to do this to take control back. Because if I didn't, if I let them walk away without facing the consequences, I'd be letting them win. And I wasn't going to let that happen. I was ready to walk into that room not as a victim, but as a woman who had found her strength. The dinner started, and the house began to fill with familiar faces. Family members, friends, people I had known for years. The food was being prepared, the laughter filling the air. It was also normal. Everyone was oblivious to what was coming. My mom greeted everyone with a big smile, trying to keep everything light and cheerful. But as the evening wore on, my nerves began to build. My stomach churned with anxiety. Was I really going to do this? Was I ready for the fallout? And then, as dinner was served, I saw Jake. He looked happy, acting like everything was fine. He didn't know. He didn't know what I had planned for him. He didn't know that everything was about to change. I waited for the right moment, when everyone was seated, when the conversation had settled. And then, with a deep breath, I stood up. I want to say something, I began. Everyone stopped talking, their eyes turning toward me. I felt the weight of their gazes, but I held my ground. This was my moment. I have something I need to share with all of you, I said. My voice was steady, but inside my heart was pounding. Something that's been going on for a while now. And I think it's time that the truth finally comes out. I turned toward Jake, my eyes locking with his. He looked confused, but I could see the nervousness starting to creep into his face. I caught Jake cheating on me, I said, my voice growing louder. With my sister. While I'm pregnant. There was a stunned silence in the room. Everyone was frozen, processing what I had just said. And then Jake's face went pale. What? My mom gasped, clearly not believing it. That can't be true. But I had the evidence. I pulled out my phone, showing the messages, the photos, the texts that Jake and Emma had sent to each other. The proof was undeniable. The room was in shock. My mom's face turned from disbelief to anger. She looked at Emma, who was now visibly uncomfortable, squirming in her seat. How could you do this? I asked, turning to Emma. How could you betray me like this? She looked away, avoiding my gaze. I never meant for this to happen, Emma whispered, her voice barely audible. I didn't think it would end up like this. You didn't think. shot back. You didn't think about the consequences of your actions. You didn't think about what this would do to me, to our family. Jake tried to interject, but I wasn't having it. Don't even try to make excuses, I said, turning to him. You don't get to say anything. You've already said enough with your actions. The tension in the room was unbearable. No one knew what to say. But I wasn't finished. I'm done, I said, my voice growing more resolute. I'm done with all the lies. I'm done with being treated like a fool. You've both disrespected me in the worst way possible, and I will not stand by and let you get away with it. The room was silent for a long time, but inside I felt lighter. I had finally said everything I needed to say, and I had taken control of the situation. But now I had a choice to make. What would come next? Would I walk away from this? Or would I make them face the consequences of their betrayal? How would the rest of my family react? The answers were still up in the air, but one thing was certain. I would never let them define me again. Tomorrow was a new day. And no matter what happened, I was going to make it mine. The dinner was now over, but the weight of what had just happened still hung in the air. I had exposed everything, and while part of me felt liberated, another part of me couldn't shake the question that kept repeating in my mind. What now? So now I turn to you. If you were in my shoes, how would you handle this? Would you walk away and never look back? Would you try to salvage what's left with Jake? Or is it too late? What would you do to Emma, your own sister who stabbed you in the back like this? I want to know what you think. 'Cause in the end, this is bigger than me. This story is about how we all deal with betrayal, how we find strength when life knocks us down. And it's a reminder that no matter how hard things get, we always have the power to take control of our own narrative. So let me know in the comments, what would you do in my position? And if you've ever been through something like this, I want to hear from you too. Share your thoughts, your advice, or your own story. I'm reading every comment. If you want to hear more stories like this and get real advice on how to handle life's toughest moments, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Because trust me, we're not done yet. This journey is far from over.